Hey, my name's Izzy. This is Rolling Virtual Cards coming at you live with another Magic the Gathering video. This time going over the multicolored, and for that case, most of the legendaries from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Let's get into it with a cool, the Unrepentant. 2 black and 2 red for a 5/5 legendary creature, Scorpion Dragon Rogue. Picture that. A Scorpion Dragon Rogue, guys. Just like... what a bamf. He's the main villain. He's... my cat's being so annoying right now. Sorry. With the following abilities. Flying, Trample, sacrifice 3 other creatures. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery and only once each turn. So this card is interesting. As a commander, I think it's great. You're playing a bunch of small creatures that can revive themselves, or token generators, where you can go, oh yeah, look, I get 3 tokens each turn, or I can resummon these 3 creatures for 3 mana each turn, and then you sacrifice those 3 over and over again each turn, and just go, here's my big 12 drop, here's my big Eldrazi, here's my big other thing. Then you just drop it onto the field and overrun your opponents. So really interesting as a commander. Being able to loop the sacrifices. I wouldn't really care about aristocrating there. You're just gonna win by overwhelming your opponent's really tall creatures with massively impactful abilities. Outside of as the commander, I mean, it's a dragon, so it works in a dragon deck. It's a rogue, so it works in a rogue deck. Maybe, like I say, so if your commander creates tokens, this could probably see play in there, because 4 drop isn't bad. I really, with the 2 green, 2 black, 2 red, I wouldn't run it in a 3 higher color deck. I just run it in like other Rakdos decks, like a Rakdos Dragon deck or a Rakdos Demon deck or something, or a Rakdos deck like the commander. Getting this guy out and being able to just sacrifice tokens to be able to go, hey, here's another big creature, isn't bad. I don't hate it there. It's also 4 for a 5/5 with flying and trample, but I don't think this will see play anywhere else. It's just a little too mana intensive, color intensive, and it doesn't do enough when it enters the battlefield. As the commander, I like it though. Annie, Flash the Veteran. 3 in red, green, blue, red, green, white. So Naya for a 4/5 human rogue with Flash. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. When it becomes tapped, exile the top 2 cards of the library. You may play those cards this turn. So, again, it's a 6-drop. You're not seeing it anywhere else. Looks like other aggro and standard. Yeah. But, as a commander, this card has Flash, so it can attack a turn. So I guess the concept here is like, you wait for someone to kill one of your creatures, you flash this guy in, you return a permanent with 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, it's in tab. Next turn you can attack and you get exile. She has card advantage in her. Being a 6-drop sucks, but if you're looking for like a Naya deck, like good stuff deck, Anti-Flash is pretty decent. Being able to just cast it to recur something and then get 2 cards per turn isn't bad. You may play those cards this turn, so you gotta kind of push that play, but I think she's interesting. Overall, giving that card advantage engine, even something as limited as that, is still useful. Annie joins up, is 1 in Naya for a legendary enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. If a targeted planeswalker, if a targeted ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. This card's fantastic in any legendary deck. Yeah, like CDH runs it if you want to double trigger the commanders. Fires of Invention, double triggers. Makes sense too. So yeah, like if your commander has triggered abilities and you're in Naya or more colors, this is great. Being able to double trigger abilities is great. And being able to do 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker is removal. So for 4 to be able to remove something and then also be able to set up is great. Yeah. I run this in any commander deck that likes, what's that terminology? Any commander deck that double triggers. So, I like it. Assimilation Aegis. Assimilation Aegis. 1 white and blue for an artifact equipment. When Assimilation Aegis enters the battlefield, exile up to 2 target creatures until it leaves the battlefield. When it becomes attached to a creature, for as long as it remains attached to it, that creature becomes a copy of a creature card exiled with this. Okay, so there's probably some ways you can learn to break this. People look like they're already breaking it with a Stoneblade in like Legacy. How many are you running? Just 1 or 1? Okay. Exile 2 creatures and then you become a copy of that creature. Oh, because you can search it with Stoneforge. And then you can cast this, exile Stoneforge, and then make the guy become a copy of the Stoneforge? I guess it's it's removal. That's what this is being used for. Is it in Modern too? Yeah, Urza. Stoneforge, yep. It's a tutorable removal spell with upside in Stoneforge Mystic decks. Because it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target creature. So yeah, because you can tutor it with Stoneforge, you tutor for this, drop the Assimilation Age, or just plop it onto the field with its effect the following turn, with Stoneforge's effect the following turn, making it a 1-drop removal spell. That's tutorable to exile any creature. That's very useful. And then you can become a copy of it, so sometimes that's actually kind of useful. I don't really care for it too much in Commander. I think it's okay. It's interesting if you're trying to go oops all equipment. It's a removal spell, so. At knife points, 1 black, red for enchantment. As long as it's your turn, outlaws you control have first strike. When you commit a crime, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token with the effect. Yeah, okay, as long as your outlaws you control have first strike, and then committing a crime once a turn. This is great. Any deck, again, that's committing crimes, if you're running mid-range, just putting this in your mid-range deck is great. Oh, cool, I get a mercenary. I don't think it'll see play outside, but maybe it should. I mean, like, if you can commit a crime on both players' turns, you're getting 1/1s each time that can do stuff. That also have first strike, mind you, because they are outlaws. So, again, I think there might be some type of outlaw mercenary or outlaw crime committing pioneer deck that could be made. But I like this. If you're running a mid-range deck in Pioneer, or sorry, in Commander, or your commander can commit crimes, this is great. Badlands Revival. 3 black, green for a sorcery. Return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Return up to 1 target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. This won't see play anywhere else, guys. But in Commander, it's your classic 5-drop revival spell with upside. So I do like that. I don't love it. There's other better ways to revive things. But if you're really looking for something, it's not terrible. Baron Bertram Greywater. 2 green, 2 white, black for a 3/4 Vampire Noble. With the following effect. Whenever 1 or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token with lifelink. This ability triggers only once each turn. Pay 1 in the black, sacrifice another creature or artifact to draw a card. So this card has card draw in it. It creates the things that you can sacrifice to draw cards. And all you have to do is run a token deck. And in Orzhov, that's easy. Breaking this card is as simple as just turning those 1/1 vampires into 4/4 angels with the card with the enchantment. I like it. I think it's fine. It's definitely like your uncommon commander. Like if you're running a token deck, you can put this card in the 99 because it's just gonna accidentally get you vampires each time, which aren't bad. Like 1/1 vampire rogues with lifelink isn't bad. Having a sack outlet, like if you need a deck with a sack outlet that also wants draw, this allows you to draw the cards. You can also sacrifice artifacts, so you can turn your food. So a food deck would like this card. Any deck where you're making a lot of tokens, this card's great. Because it's not just creature token. It's whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield control. So if you make your food deck, if you're a clue deck, if you're a creature token deck, if you're a junk deck, any of those, just toss this guy in there. He hits the field. He's not super threatening, but he can allow you to draw cards for 2, turning all your creatures and your artifacts into clues, basically. And he can also just make extra tokens. Now it's only once each rotation, but that's fine. Like, once, well, not each rotation, but once each turn, so 4 times per rotation. That's not bad. I think it's better in the 99. As the commander, it's a little slow. I've built it, and it's just kind of like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm making a treasure every time someone draws. It doesn't pay to, so I'm going to get a 1/1 each time, which builds up. But you got to be playing a slow deck. Bonnie Pale Clear Cutter is 3 green and 2 blue for a 6/5 giant scout. So that's 6 mana again. Reach. When it enters the battlefield, create Bayou, a legendary blue ox creature token. With this creature's power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. Whenever you attack, draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. Tamir Control in Standard is dominated by this card, dude. I don't really go over Standard too much, but they are sideboarding 2 of these against, like, other decks. Other control decks, probably. I love this guy as a commander. I think it's so fun, Bonnie. Getting this big guy. Now, the big issue is the big guy doesn't care about commander damage, but you're a 6/5. So you're 4-shotting people anyway with commander damage. Your big ox is hitting people. And then it has card advantage and ramp on it. So I like it. I think it's fun. It's expensive though, so I get why no one really wants to play it. Breach's Blastmaster is 1 blue red for a 3/3 Goblin Pirate with menace, and whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you may flip a coin. When you win the flip, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. When you lose that flip, breaches the Blastmaster maker does damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target. So this is a heads I win, tails you lose situation where, like, heads I win, tails you lose. So, like, you cast your second spell, you sacrifice like a treasure, and then, like, flip a coin. It's a 4-drop spell. You want your spells to be, like, anywhere from 3 to 4 so that you can deal some extra damage to any target. So low costing spells don't work, and you just kind of want to cost 2 spells because it's only the second spell each turn. Not bad. I like it as the commander, kind of. I don't love random decks like this. Usually it's a little bit too much. But as long as you care, it's high enough CMC for the cards, you're running a lot of ramp. You want to run a lot of ramp. And just, like, cast 2 spells constantly, like, each of your turns. And you can run a control deck and counter something and then cast another spell, but you want interactive spells, because if you can cast 2 spells on your opponent's turn, boom, bang, you can go, and then you want to make treasures. It's just a lot to work around to make it work. But if you can make it work, it's a pretty fun deck. I just don't see it in the 99 or anywhere else. Bruce Taro, Roving Ranchers, 2 red, white for a 4/3 human warrior. Oxen you control of double strike. And whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile the top card of your library. If it's a land card, create a 2/2 white ox creature token. Otherwise, you may cast it until the end of your next turn. This card's great. I love this commander. It's such a fun commander. Your 2/2s all have double strike, which is absolutely insane. It's a 4/3 that can attack quite finely by itself. Excuse me. And being able to just make more 2/2s or be able to have a card advantage is great. It's just a nice little Boros mid-range deck that doesn't care about equipment. Rare these days. Definitely rare these days. Cactus Folks Sure Shot is 2, a red and a green for a 4/4 plant mercenary with reach and ward 2. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, other creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain trample and haste until their turn. Put this in power 4 or greater decks. That's about it. I don't see it hitting anywhere else. Yeah, put it in power 4 or greater decks. And I'm actually curious, does Bruce Taro make it anywhere? I'm pretty sure the answer is no. Oh yeah, a dual commander. Okay, cool. So yeah, like, if you're playing a 4 greater power deck in Commander, run that. Congregation Griff is 1 green white for a 1/4 Hippogriff mount with flying and lifelink, and when it attacks while saddled, it gets +X/+X until the turn, where X is the number of mounts you control. Oh, yeah, put this in your mount deck. That's it. Moving on. Doc Orlock, Grizzled Genius, is a green, a blue for a 2/3 bear druid. Spells you cast from your graveyard and from exile cost 2 less to cast. Plotting cards from your hand cost 2 less. This is not seen. Oh, it's got a 1 CDH deck where you're running it in loot because you cast the cards from exile. Yeah, as a commander, this card's interesting. You definitely want to run any plot you can because it reduces that cost. But then, like, any cards you cast from exile works, so it's kind of interesting. If you're running a plotting deck that's not Doc, plotting from hand, of course, or any deck that casts spells from exile or from graveyard, put this in. Like, this card's great in Meldrotha. You get it out, and all the cards you cast from your graveyard cost 2 less. Fantastic. Urda the Burglar is 1 an Esper for a 4/4 human warlock with lifelink, and whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to the aura's mana value, gain control of that permanent for as long as the aura is attached to it. This card's hard to build for, but if you can figure it out, it's pretty fun. Again, you're not seeing this played anywhere. It doesn't do much, but as a commander, it's interesting. I like it. Being able to just toss auras on stuff and steal their small things, and then run bigger auras that allow you to steal other things. There's a lot you can do for it just to steal their stuff. I don't like running commander decks that are all about stealing your opponent's cards, though, because it ruins their fun from their deck, so I'd advise avoiding it. Earth Joe Frontier Mentor, 2 red white for a 2/4 human, core advisor. When Eartha Joe Frontier Mentor enters the battlefield, you make a 1 mercenary, a 1/1 mercenary. Whenever you activate an ability that triggers a creature or player, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. The mercenary double triggers. So this deck is literally like flicker Eartha a bunch of times to get a bunch of mercenaries and then double trigger them. But you can also just put all the double triggered or double activated abilities that target creatures. A little hard to find them, but you can, and that's kind of the point. Just go out and look for them and run them all in the deck. It can be very interesting, a little difficult to find the right abilities that target, but once you find them, it's a fun deck. Form Opposed. X red white sorcery, create X mercenary creature token. So at sorcery, you can just make a bunch. You can't really do anything with them unless you have a way to give them haste. But it's your classic make X tokens that are from the set. And these mercenaries are great. If you can give them haste, you can buff your commander to punch someone. So, very interesting in that regard. Gahir'd Mirror of the Wilds is red, green, white for a 3/3 human shaman with haste. Non-token creature you control have tap. Create a token that's a copy of target token you control that enter the battle for this turn. This is great. Turning all your non-token creatures into creature token stuff. So, you want to... It will trigger no matter what using itself, but you want to just give your stuff haste and then run stuff that makes tokens on ETBs or on cast. Oh, look, it made in. Boom, 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 boom. Make more, make more, make more, and then swing with all those tokens. So, interesting. I like it. I think it's a really, really fun deck. It's not seeing play anywhere else. Standard tried it once, but as a commander, this is great. And any token deck, honestly, I would say check it out. The Gitrog, Ravenous Ride. Is this guy actually seeing play places? It is in Dual Commander and Standard. That's it. It's time for it to squeal like it. But as a commander itself, it's 3 black and a green for a 6/5 frog horror mount. Trample and haste, and when it deals combat damage to the player, you may sacrifice a creature that's saddled at this turn. If you do, draw X cards where X is then put up to X land cards from your hand of the battle tap, where X is the sacrifice creatures. Power, saddle 1. This card's great. As a commander, you're just running a lot of big creatures and then saddling it and then sacking the saddled creatures and then drawing like 5 or 10 or 12 and you're like, yeah, draw a bunch of cards, and then you just look for your combo and win. I'm sorry, but you are just finding a combo. If you're just drawing that many cards, your goal is to find a combo. Witherbloom Apprentice and Smog, Chain of Smog. Just run that in this deck, hit people, sack your big guys. Why would you run this in your 99? Simple, your commander is big. If your commander is a really big power and toughness, like Meldrotha and Moldani, Yargle and Meldrotha, you just put this in there and then you can sack it, draw a bunch of cards, drop a bunch of lands. So very useful in that regard. Really love this card. Think it's absolutely fantastic. Like, I'm not even joking. I think it's a great card. Honest Rustin is 1, a green, and a blue. 1, a black, and a green for a 3/2 human warlock. When into the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. I built this deck in a stupid way where you just run a bunch of 1-drops creatures that are just 1 generic, and then you just flood the field with them. And you can cast a return a creature to your hand, which isn't bad as like, oh, you killed my Rustin, I'm just going to recast it and get a card back. No questions, no refunds. Why would you run this in the 99? Simple, to just reduce the cost of your creatures. And in the 8, standard is seeing a Pioneer, Chord Toolbox is seeing it, because you're toolboxing with it. Is it a main card? Yeah, one of. Just to reduce the cost of all your, like, 2-drops, which is cool, because, like, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, or sorry, 0, can all be useful, and you can just tutor for it anyway. 4-color Legends Aggro is a thing. Pioneer, like, yeah, like, so it's not bad as a 3-drop, like, for real. It does something to reduce the cost of stuff, and that's useful. Intimidating Campaign is 1 blue and a black for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life, and you draw a card. Whenever you commit a crime, you may return it to your hand. Again, if you're committing crimes, this is fine. Being able to put this card back in your hand and recast it for 3 to drain your opponents of all 1, gain a life, and oh look, draw a card. For 3, doing that over and over and over again can be very useful. And if you're running it in like a Grixis deck where you're triggering non-creature spell casts, that's pretty cool too. So, I like it there. No, it's not seeing play anywhere else. Jim Lightfoot Sky Explorer is 2, a white and a blue for a 3/3 human scout with flying and vigilance. And at the beginning of your instep, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, draw a card. This card won't see play anywhere. It's just too slow. Even as a commander, like, the idea here is you're running like a complete control deck, full of flash cards, instant speed cards, and your goal is just get this guy out, do nothing the first turn, because cast anything else the turn, and then every rotation from there, as long as you give it protection so people don't kill it, you draw a card at your instep, every single instep, and that gives you another way to use stuff. And then you just flash things in and stop things, and yeah, that's about it. It's slow, it's bad. I like it in control decks and commander, to be fair. If you're like, pass, that's great. Like, if your deck is just pass the deck, that can be pretty good, to be fair. I like it. Jolene Plungering Pugilist is 1, a red and a green for a 4/2 human mercenary. Whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures with power 4 or greater, create a treasure token. 1 in a green, 1 in a red, sacrifice a treasure, it deals 1 damage to any target. So, this goes infinite with Dockside. If you infinitely cast Dockside, you'll have infinite treasures, which means you can use the treasures to infinitely sack the treasures to kill everyone. But it's not strong enough to be like a CDH deck with that thought process, because the upside is that you swing and you get a treasure with it. Ramp is not always the best choice to have in your command zone, unless you can guarantee to have draw power, and in this colors you won't. But casually, dude, this is fun. This is a really fun deck that you can just like flood the field with power 4 or greater cards, and then run all the cards that trigger when you cast creatures and when you deal combat, and then you just keep swinging, making treasures, using those treasures to cast more creatures. You can sack treasures if you want as like a nice removal. Having removal on her is pretty cool. Also, she's dealing the damage of giving her death touch, means you can just start pinging everything by sacking treasures, which is pretty good. So yeah, I like her as a commander, and then again, any deck that's power 4 or greater themed, put it in there. Or if your commander is power 4 or greater themed, or heck, she gives you card mana. Put her in a deck if you're trying to find mana, or if you're running a treasure deck. She runs it. She's going to be placed in so many decks. You'll see her. You'll just see her come in commander decks. Oh yeah, I needed a way to make treasures in my treasure deck. Oh, hey, I just needed a way to make extra mana, and I wanted a 4/2. Or, hey, I'm running power 4 or greater. This card actually does something. Or legendaries. This card does something. Or double trigger on attacks. Or, yeah, oh, my commander's power 4 or greater. That means not only does Jolene give me a treasure, my other creature, or whenever you attack with one or more creatures with power 4 or greater, actually. So, you only get one treasure each rotation, regardless. So, but I do like it. I think it's really good. Campbell, Profiting Mirrors, one a white and a black for a 2/4 human advisor. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your opponent's control, for each of them, create a tapped token that's a copy of it. This ability triggers only once each turn. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses life and you gain a life. The way this works is simple. If an opponent goes, I'm going to make 5 tokens, you make 5 of those tokens. And then everyone loses a life, and each opponent loses life, and you gain a life, and that's how that works. If they make 1 token, you make 1 copy of that token, tapped, and then they all lose a life, and you gain a life. And then if they make 1 token, and you copy that, and then they make a 2nd token, you don't get anything because it only triggers once each turn. There is not enough ways to force your opponents to have tokens to really make this deck work, but whenever one or more tokens into the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses life. You can just make infinite tokens and win the game. Oh, yeah. But he's expensive. And not because he's being used anywhere else. He's just Campbell, and so people like him. I mean, $1.30 isn't actually that expensive, but like, yeah, people are liking him. He's just kind of good as a overall, drop him in your deck, and like, if you know your opponent's gonna run tokens, boom, look, you get tokens. It's not bad. Kellen joins up. A green, a blue, white, and a blue, so Bant for a legendary enchantment. Whenever Kellen joins up, enters the battlefield, you may exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your hand. If you do, it becomes plot. Okay, so plot of 3 or less. When a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. That's great. Again, fantastic for legendary decks. Great for 1/1 counter Bant decks that are running legendaries. I think it's interesting. Yeah, if you care about 1/1 counters in your Bant, or like you care about legendaries in your Bant, go for it. Kellen the Kid, putting it in Kellen's funny. But Kellen the Kid is a Bant for a 3/3 human fairy rogue with flying and lifelink. And whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or less mana value from your hand, without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this card's interesting. It gives you ramp. It gives you card mana. Oh, I forget the terminology. Mana avoidance. Mana cheating. It cheats your cards out. But being able to gain 3 life, it's got good, it's got a nice power, being able to gain 3 life each rotation. I like it as a commander, mainly because you can just kind of make it big, because it's got flying and lifelink. You'll keep your life up, you'll be able to hit them pretty easily, gain some, like, card draw off that stuff. And then when you cast cards from not your hand, so you're trying to just cast spells anywhere other than your hand, like the top card of your library, makes a lot of sense. I like that a lot. Like, play the top card of your library, cast it. Cool. Cast another card from your hand. So, lots of stuff you can work on with that. It's interesting. Crom, Violent Cacophony is 2, a blue and a red. Is 2, a blue and a red for a 2/3 zombie horror with flying. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a 1/1 counter on it. Draw a card. So, you want to just give it boots, keep it protected, and then just flood your deck full of 1-drop instances. Cast 2 spells each turn, giving it 1/1 counters and drawing cards. It'll get big enough to start knocking people out of the game. Again, in a spell slinging deck, sure, put this in the deck. You'll be able to hit people with it in a spell slinging deck. And Kellen is the same thing. Like, if you're running a deck that casts spells from not your hand and you're in Bant, go for it. Laughing Jasper Flint is 1, a black and a red for a 4/3 lizard rogue. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries, in addition to their other types. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of target opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control. Until the end of turn, you may cast spells from among cards, and mana of any type can be spent to choose those cards. I love this deck. I'm actually building it. As a commander, it's fun because I think it is like my favorite mercenaries deck, or my favorite outlaw deck, because you just play outlaws. Doesn't matter what they are, they hit the field. This allows you to just exile cards from your opponent's library, or X the number of cards. Until the turn, you make cast those spells, and they stay exiled. So you can win by milling your opponent out by having enough by having enough outlaws out on the field and just going. But by itself, you exile a card from the deck. Stealing their creatures allows you to all of a sudden just get more outlaws because they're mercenaries. You can steal some cool creatures. So this deck is like a lot of ramp and a lot of cool outlaws just being ran. I like it. And then if you're running an outlaw deck, toss it in there. It's great in an outlaw deck. Or if you're running a rogue deck, like it gives you card advantage in rogue. So, alright, honestly, any outlaw deck, just toss it in there. Lazav Familiar Stranger is 1, a blue and a black for a 1/4 shapeshifter. Whenever you commit a crime, put a 1 counter on it. Then you may exile a card from a graveyard. If a creature card is exiled this way, it becomes a copy until end of turn. Though this ability triggers only once each turn. Lazav does like this interesting thing where like you commit a crime, become a copy of something. That's cool. You want an activated ability so you can do something, or like an attack trigger or something. So but you have to exile the card from the graveyard. And if a creature card was exiled this way, like, cool, like, that's interesting, but, like, now you can't re-choose it. So, it's hard. I don't love it. I think it's probably one of the weaker commanders. There's way too much stuff you have to do to make it work. You can't rely on your opponents for having cards, so you have to rely on yourself, which means you're self-milling yourself, and there's just too much going on all of a sudden. He wasn't being used. Again, there's no outlaw deck, like, outside. Come on. Yeah, like, modern Rakdos aggro. Oh, really? Yeah, because, like, I guess it steals a card from your opponent constantly, which can be useful. And Ragavan is a pirate. And Dothy is a rogue. So I think that kind of makes sense. Being able to just steal your opponent's cards can be very useful. Yeah, I could see this continuing to see play in, like, that deck. I might actually just take a look at that. That's fun. Lilia Undefeated Slick Shot is 1, a blue and a red for a 3/3 human rogue with prowess. And whenever you cast a multicolored spell, multicolored instant or sorcery spell from your hand, exile that spell instead of putting it into the graveyard as it resolves. If you do, it becomes plotted. This card's great. I love this card. The whole point of this deck is just to run every single instant and sorcery under the sun and just go boom, 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 exile, exile, exile. And then once you have enough to one-shot someone with because her prowess and because of the plotted cards, like all the +3s and stuff to her, and then, oh look, she's at 11 and I can give a double strike, someone's dead. And then you just keep doing that. It's such an explosive and aggressive deck that people just don't want to deal with. I love it. Yeah, I guess if you're, like, I would also run this in something like, 4-color Aragorn, because, yeah, all the multicolor instant sorcery spells you're casting in that deck, exile them and plot them, and then you can get the effect again, so that's great, that's fantastic. Multicolor decks love this. Make Your Own Luck is, 3 and a green and a blue for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may exile a non-land card from among them. If you do, it becomes plotted. Put the rest on your hand. So this is a draw 3 for 5 that also allows you to cast a card for free next turn. So I don't mind this. I think this is fine if you're like looking for like a deep draw effect or something. Like, I don't love it, but I do like it. Okay. Malcolm the Eyes. Blue and a red for a 2/2. Siren, pirate. Flying haste. When you cast your second spell each turn, investigate. Again, this is just a spell slinging deck. If you're running a spell slinging deck, this is great. If you're not, if you want to run it as a commander, just cast small spells. And you get your treasure, your clues, and you can just keep getting clues and use them to draw cards. And it's a 2/2, and you can hit. It's seen play in, like, it's got Murktide. How many in Murktide? Just one? Or is it sideboarded? No, it's in here. It's just, one. Yeah, one of. I don't mind it, like, because it does help you grind out games in other formats. Like, oh yeah, I'm casting 2 spells each turn, so I'm gonna trigger its effect. That's not too bad. But yeah, I like it as a commander because I like clue decks, and being able to just go counter your spell, and then also I'm gonna draw, like, opt here. I think that's an instant, or an instant form of draw. Yeah, I'm gonna cantrip here, and look, I got a clue, and then you just keep doing that, and you can duplicate the clues, and you have clue decks that more clue cards that help you. And a 2/2 with flying and haste means you can equip this card with stuff to just hit them to draw better cards. Marchesa, Dealer of Death. I'm actually building this card too slowly. This is a blue, a black, and a red for a 3/4 human rogue, and whenever you commit a crime, you may pay 1. If you do, look at the top 2 cards live. Put one of them in your hand and the other in your graveyard. It's fun. I like cards, decks that are just card advantage. So you're running a bunch of, like, instants and sorceries and other cards that commit crimes. You pay 1. Oh yeah, look 2. I don't need this one. Put this card in my hand. And then you have ways to recur stuff from your graveyard, and like you keep the recur spell and you dump the big guy. Then you get the big guy back, and lots to think of. It's seeing play in dual commander as its own thing. Marche's a Dealer of Death because as a dual commander creature, it's a 3-drop that you can go kill that spell. Also, boom, boom, card advantage for 1 extra. Like you're going plus, or you're, instead of minusing them 1 and minusing yourself 1 going even, you're plussing yourself 1. So pretty good. And like Legacy Grixis Control is even trying it out as a 2 of, because again, something like Orcish Bowmaster can target your creature, their stuff, and that triggers Marchesa every time. And it's each time you commit a crime. So Orcish goes off, and you're like, oh cool, let's just keep digging deeper. And Snapcaster can be used, and Shield Strategic can be reused, and being able to get to your hand, and it just gives you a lot of card advantage. So I really like it. I'm definitely gonna try it out. I think it's interesting. In the 99, again, if you're committing crimes, just toss it in there. It's a good card advantage. Miriam, Herd Worshippers, a green and a white for a 3/2 human druid. As long as it's your turn, mounted vehicles you control have hexproof. When a mounted vehicle you control attacks, put a 1 counter on it. This is the mountain vehicle deck. They couldn't just make it mounts because there's not enough mounts. You had to toss vehicles in there. It's fun. I like it. It's like the only one that really cares about mounts as a commander that isn't a mount itself. It just cares about them. You miss out on some interesting mounts that are in the other colors, but you can't rule them all, and the main ones are green and white. So yeah, as a commander, you just toss all the vehicles and the mounts in this deck, and poof. If you're running a vehicle deck, toss this in the deck too, because it's cool to just buff your vehicle slowly. Yeah. Obeka, the Splitter of Seconds, is 1 and blue, black, red for a 2/5 Ogre Warlock with Menace. Whenever Obeka, Splitter of Seconds, deals combat damage to a player, you get that many additional upkeep steps after this phase. This card's busted. It's not going to see play anywhere other than casual because it's just not strong enough. But it's great, guys. As a casual commander deck, you run upkeep costs. Cards that are already good because you trigger them once each turn. Then with her, you double it. You get 2 extra triggers. So you get 3 of the triggers each rotation, which is just gross. There's a lot of gross cards, and then if you build this deck, every time there's a new set, there's going to be something that states at the beginning of your upkeep, and you just get that multiple times, and you put that in the deck, and you replace it with something that's not as good, and buff it, make it bigger, put swords on it if you want. Oh look, now I'm hitting you for even more. I get 5 upkeep triggers or something. Like, it's gross. You'll see it everywhere. It's like the most popular commander deck in this set. Oko, the ringleader, is the planeswalker here. 2 green and blue for a 3 loyalty Oko. At the beginning of combat on your turn, Oko, the ringleader, becomes a copy of up to 1 target creature you control until the turn, except it has hexproof. So that's great. Being able to have it become a copy of a creature you control is actually really fun. I never even read that. I love that. I think it's super fun being able to get, oh look, on this creature that has a cool attack trigger or activated ability. But it's +1, you draw 2 cards, and if you committed a crime this turn, discard a card. Otherwise, discard 2 cards. So, draw 2, discard 1, as long as you commit a crime, or draw 2, discard 2. For -1, you make a 3/3 Grand Elk, which is great, just being able to make a body right away. And it's -5 for each other non-land permanent you control. Create a token. That's a copy of that permanent. That's so gross. Plus this twice, and then just -5 this, and just go. I have a bunch of permanents that all do stuff. Like, that's so great. It is Oko, so yeah, Modern Cascade Crash is running it. One of. Because it does give you card advantage. And it does avoid the Sundress agents or Shardless agents. And being able to make copies of stuff is cool, but you're mainly just doing the +1 probably. I mean, maybe you're making an Alkit sometimes because it does something. So that's not bad. I like it. I think it's going to see play constantly in Commander because it's a nice 4-drop that just does stuff. Plague the Bog is a black and a green for a sorcery. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is twice the number of lands you control. Put one of them onto your hand and the rest of the bottom of the library in a random order. Plot. This card is seeing play everywhere. It might actually be the best multicolor spell. Standard, Pioneer, Dual Commander, Modern. Like, the only place it's not actually, like, hitting is, Legacy. Legacy. Say it's got a Legacy deck. What about a Vintage? Nah, it doesn't hit Vintage, but like, it is seeing play in Pioneer and Modern constantly. Why? Well, it is really good card advantage. Okay? Being able to look at the top X cards where X is twice the number of lands you control. So if you cast this for 2 and you have 2 lands, you're looking at the top 4, putting a card in, putting the rest of the bottom library. That is crazy card advantage for 2 mana, okay? On the other hand, if you plot this on turn 3, you can wait. You can just go, oh, cool, I'm playing against a control deck. I've got 5 lands now. Let me dig 10. Oh, look, there's the card I need. Combo decks. This is such a good combo, like, the way to find your combo piece. And even, like, in Commander, this is a great way to dig. And in competitive, dude, like, if you have 5 mana, or 5 lands, and you cast Pillage the Bog, and you go dig 10. Oh, look, there's the card I need. There's a tutor. I think it's great. I think it's underrated, and it should be played more in other formats. But yeah, it's great. Rakdos joins up is 3, a black, and a red for a legendary enchantment. When Rakdos joins up, enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to 1 second here, guys. Gotta double check. Okay. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with 2 additional 1/1 counters on it. Okay, so right there, you're like, cool. It's a recurrent spell for 5, gets them bigger, whatever. But when a legendary creature you control dies, Rakdos joins up, deals damage equal to that creature's power to target opponent. Again, this is a great recurrent spell. That's the normal price to return something with upside. Oh, a legendary creature died? Cool. Bam, some equal to target creature's power to target opponent. Like, if you're running a big creature as your commander, this is great. And then if you're running a legendary deck, this should be in there. So, Rakdos the Muscle is 2 black, and a red for a 6/5 demon mercenary with flying and trample. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, exile cards equal to its mana value from the top target of his library. Until the end of your next turn, until your next instep, you may play those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. Sacrifice another creature. Rakdos the Muscle gains indestructible to the turn. Tap it. Activate only once each turn. So with this card, the whole point is that you can sacrifice your creatures. You can only do it once each turn, but you can keep doing it on each opponent's turn because it's until the end of until your next instep. So you do it on your turn. There, you sacrifice your creatures. Like, oh look, I'm sacrificing a 5/5 or like 3 3s, or like let's say they're 2 2s, and you're just like, I'm gonna exile 5 cards and use them on my turns next turn, or 2 4 6 8 cards, or I'm gonna hit you guys and exile your things and win by exiling your stuff. You can also, yeah, there's just a lot you can do with him. I think he's super interesting as a commander. He's being ran in standard as this legendary, but I really like him just as a commander. In the 99, 5 mana, if you need a sack outlet that gives you card advantage, again, this is where I would put it. This guy can sack something, and it gives you card advantage for doing so. I like that. And then, like, if you're running a sack outlet where you infinitely sack stuff, you could also win that way, because infinitely sacking stuff wins you the game too, because exile cards from its mana value. This ability isn't triggered once. So if you can infinitely sacrifice something, you can just exile your opponent's decks and win. So, pretty interesting. I like it as the commander. Riku of Many Paths is green, a blue, and a red for a 3/3 human wizard. And whenever you cast a modal spell, choose up to X, where X is the number of times you've chose a mode for that spell. Yeah, so exile the top card of your library until the end of turn. You may play that. To the end of your next turn, you play it. Put a 1/1 counter on Riku Many Paths. It gains trample on turn. Create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. Just put all the modal spells in this deck, and then if you happen to choose more than one modal option, because you can, then you get more options. Otherwise, you can get this guy really big and give him trample. You can get a lot of birds, or you can get card advantage. It's good. The more modal spells we get, the better. And if you're running a lot of modal spells in another deck, that's interesting. Roxanne, so Aragorn. Roxanne or Roxanne, Starfall Savant is my new commander competitive deck that I'm building. For 5, so 3 red green for 4/3 cracked druid. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, create a tap colorless artifact token named Meteorite with when Meteorite enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target, and tap add a mana of any color. Whenever you tap an artifact token for mana, add 1 mana of any type that artifact token produces. So your meteorites, not only do they hit the field to ping something, to deal 2 damage to something, usually removing a problematic creature, they also produce 2. And all your mana rocks produce an additional. So your Soul Rings produce an additional. And your everything, which is great. I absolutely love Roxanne Starfeld. It's such a cool commander. And then if you look here, it's being ran in Modern, in Amulet Titan, because those things, as a sideboard card, but those things don't come in tapped in Amulet Titan. And Pioneer's running it, and Niv Mizzet Reborn, 2-drop. I love this card. I think it's so fun. It's just one of my favorite commanders now. And I love that you're making a card from back in the day that sucked. 1, 2, 3. I'm almost done here. I can speed run these last few here. Let's see. I know. Got 2 minutes before my alarm goes off here. 1 black green for a 3/2 vampire assassin, ruthless lawbreaker. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any creatures. When you do, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy target non-land permanent. Yeah, Pioneer's running it in Amala Life, because that's Amala. She's the one who gives you life. It's a brand new commander that specifically runs in this, and it's a 1-drop because it's a great way to sack something and just pop something. It's just a good way to pop a non-land. Oh no, I lose my creature, but you can also sack your Amala to it, so that's good. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a way to remove stuff but also get a vampire or an assassin on the field, that's not bad. Satoru the Infiltrator is great. A blue and a black for a 2/3 human ninja rogue with menace, and when it or one or more other when it and or one or more other non-token creatures into the battlefield under your control, if none of them were cast and no mana was spent to cast them, draw a card. You can go infinite by just infinitely flickering it. But you're seeing it be played in Legacy and Standard. Dredge likes this, because it's just a great way to draw a card. It's a great way to draw cards and stuff, and just kind of keep going with the flicker and the casts. Modern Dredge. A lot of decks are just testing it out because it's a 2-drop with a great upside. Menace means you can hit people easier. Just flickering it gives you access. As a commander, casually, this does a lot. It's just good card advantage. And competitively, commander, this is a great commander. Just blue-white or blue-black control, flickering him, drawing cards, and flickering other creatures, drawing cards. So, Sylvala, Igor Trailblazers, 2 a green and a white for a 4/5 Elf Scout with Vigilance. And whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token, and then tap, Choose a color. Add 1 mana of any color for each different power among creatures you control. The mercenaries you get whenever you cast a creature spell, you make them, can help you change the powers and stuff, and then you can tap her to draw like a bunch of creatures, a bunch of cards. Or sorry, not cards, to get a bunch of mana to then cast spells. And being able to get a mercenary every time you cast a creature is very useful. I really like it. I think it's super interesting. I don't think it's seeing play anywhere else. Yeah. And it's not competitive. I think it's good as a commander, and then any deck that's like running a bunch of creatures, it's useful there. Sephiric Steed is a green and a white for a 2/2 unicorn mount with first strike and lifelink, and whenever it attacks, while saddled, create a 3/3 right angel creature token with flying. Is this good enough to hit somewhere? Nah. Okay. If you're running a saddle deck, toss it in there. It's your commander's power 4 or greater. This is not bad because you get a 3/3 angel each turn. That's not bad. I'd run this in like an angel deck or a unicorn deck or a few other places. I mean, 2/2 isn't great, but getting a 3/3 angel isn't bad either. So, I don't know. I'd probably run it if my commander had power 4 or greater and I was in those colors and I had the card. Slick Sequence is a green, a blue, and a red for an instant, and it deals 2 damage to any target. And if you cast another spell this turn, draw a card. So if this is the second spell, you get a draw card. That's not awful. I don't hate it. Yeah, there's a Pioneer. Is it decks are testing it just to be able to draw cards? That's not bad. Taya Awaken Perfect Shot is a red and a white for a 2/3 human mercenary. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to a creature equal to that creature's toughness, draw a card. Pay X and tap it. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player this turn, it deals that much damage plus X instead. So that's the whole point, is you can tap it to make sure it's a perfect shot. So like, I'm going to deal 1 damage to that creature. Actually, it's going to deal 3 damage. I don't think this is seeing, some dual commanders for Kess, because it helps buff him. Kessel. But, as a commander itself, I built it. It's okay. I don't love it. You're running all the ping cards, and then just buffing the crap out of those pings to deal more damage. And then hopefully maybe draw a card. Vile Smasher Gleeful Grenadier is a black and a red for a 3/2 Goblin Mercenary. Whenever an outlaw enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to target opponent. Goes infinite. It's in standard for legendaries and outlaws. But it goes infinite with Dockside. There you go. Again. But Vraska joins up is a black and a green for a legendary enchantment. When it's the battlefield, put a death touch counter on each creature you control. So all your creatures get death touch. That's great. Whenever a legendary creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So this is just great draw power for legendaries. It's definitely playing a part in CD. It's Sissa because because you can grab it and as a legendary give death touch counters to your creatures, and then just draw cards. It's great. Any legendary deck should just be tossing this card in there. Vraska the Silencer is a black and a green for a 3/3 legendary creature, Gorgon Assassin with Death Touch. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you may pay a 1 generic. If you do, return target creature, return that card to the battlefield tapped under your control. It's a treasure artifact with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color, and it loses all the card types. So, here's the thing. It loses all other card types, but it still keeps their abilities. So, if they have activated abilities or trigger abilities, you still get them, which is where it's good. So you're just running a cool control deck and stealing the stuff. This is seeing some play in standard for aggro, but I don't think it'll ever break out of that, most likely. And as a commander, I really like it, but it's because it's just mid-range bullnanigans. Wrangler of the Demand is 3, white and a blue for a 1/4 human soldier with flash. And when at the beginning of your instep, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, create a 2/2 white spirit creature token with flying. So, not bad. I mean, each instep, as long as you're not casting cards from your hand, you get you can cast it on your opponent's instep and then just keep getting 2/2s. I like this again in like a control deck, being able to like slowly work out stuff. And the last multicolored spell is Wily Duke Anton Hero. 1, a green and a white for a 4/2 legendary creature, human ranger with vigilance. And whenever it becomes tapped, you gain a life and draw a card. So this is just like swing, gain life, draw a card. But you can't, because it has vigilance. So you have to find ways to tap it. Put anything to tap it, and then untap it, and then tap it, and untap it. If you can infinitely tap and untap this card, you draw your deck and gain infinite all the life. So it's fun. I enjoy it. Yeah, I think there's enough lands and colorless cards that I'm going to do one more video after this to hit those. Everyone, let me know what your favorite colorless spell is and what you think the best one is, and what's your favorite commander from this set. It doesn't have to be multicolored, but I personally think the best card that's multicolor is my favorite's probably the Gitrog. I think it's fun. I also love the other commander. Like, he's my favorite card. My favorite commander is probably Roxanne here, and then I think Pillage the Bog is probably the best multicolor spell here. I think it does the most in most formats. So next time you're gonna get to see colorless and then the lands, and that'll finish up the set. And then I'm gonna hop over and quickly do the big set and the Thunder Junction. So I think the big set just has. Yeah, I'm not gonna go over the reprints. I'm just gonna go over the new cards. So that should be great. I will catch you guys later. Peace.